Who's missing a chair?
We're missing a chair.
Here, you sit down.
Am I laughing?
I'll like.
That was highly.
I'll work on the chair.
Yeah, sit down. Sit down.
We're friends.
I'll stand.
I'll sit.
We can. Okay.
I think we can manage, right? Should we just stand the entire time?
Yeah.
We just had one.
We could play music.
Wow.
Oh, here it comes. Here it comes.
Oh, look at that. Awesome.
So, welcome everybody to the GateCrashers panel. None of these people would have been invited here ordinarily, but we decided to bring them along today so that they could help us understand a little about why they decided to desert the industry and move on to some other things. But I think probably the best thing for us to do is for each person to introduce themselves, talk a little bit about the company that they're now working for, what their role is in that company. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about how that's kind of changed over time. So, Emma.
Cool. I'm Emma Cookson. You and Mr. Jones we describe ourselves as the first brand tech group. Founder David Jones, the eponymous David Jones, created the group to deliver on his conviction that nowadays pretty much every element of marketing can be done better or faster or cheaper or some combination via technology. He's building the group of tech and tech-enabled companies that he thinks best equipped to deliver on that. So in sort of practical, plain-spoken terms, we're a few majority acquisitions, 11 minority investments, a couple of startups, and importantly, all of this led by people like him. He used to be the global CEO of Havas, and people like me. I have a creative agency background at BBH, who really get brands, brand marketing, brand organizations as well. So hopefully the brand understanding with the most advanced tech at the disposal of brand owners.
And Pokemon Go was one of those
that's the
investments.
famous bit.
That was a good one.
So it was a goodie.
Andrew?
I'm Andrew Keller, and I'm the Global Creative Director. I guess I'm reading the card there at Facebook Creative Shop. And we work together with clients and their agencies to deliver great work on the platform, impactful work for Facebook and Instagram, and just try to deliver great mobile work that has impact for clients and agencies. That's it.
Thank you. Anne?
I was hoping that would be longer, but you've got to eat up a lot of time.
Do you think you have to explain who Facebook is and what they do? And
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Facebook's here to stay, Andrew. I think you're good. You got some job security. I'm Anne Bologna. I'm Chief Strategy Officer at a company called iCrossing, which probably the simplest way to define it is a digitally native integrated agency that's owned by Hearst, which a lot of people think of Hearst as a magazine company, but it's interestingly, it's an $11 billion media, entertainment, and content company, and it's independent, which is awesome. So, yes, we're hiring.
Glenn?
Hi, everyone. I'm Glen Hartman. I run Accenture Interactive in North America. I was curious of maybe a show of hands. How many people have heard of Accenture Interactive? That's good. We're getting better at being well known. I'm not sure if the history may help a little bit, because when people think of Accenture, they think of the large technology outsourcing firm, but Accenture Interactive was actually started within Accenture as an incubator, as a startup. We brought in lots of people from the agencies and from other types of startups and analytics firms and media, and even some of our clients and chief marketing officers to come up with a way that big Accenture has been driving to help companies with technology and really working with the CIO. And Accenture Interactive was built for the same reason, but to really serve the CMO in its extended family now, with all the fun new titles that we know, Chief Digital Officer, Chief Experience Officer, Chief Customer Officer, et cetera. And if you take a look at the one thing that we do, we really are myopically and just laser focused on helping our clients deliver the best experiences on the planet. And last year, I think we finally came out when we moved from the startup into the firm, and we're allowed to talk about our revenue, and Ad Age was nice enough to give us the nod as the largest digital agency in the globe and also in North America. So we're really making a run for the space to help the CMOs do that thing that will help drive those better experiences.
So can I, because the reason most people have heard about you, heard about Accenture Interactive, well, not the reason, but Michael Roth talked about you this morning. He talked about Accenture, and he was asked the question whether he thought you were a real kind of threat or competition to IPG. And his answer was that when he thinks about Accenture and Deloitte, he thinks about you guys as coming from more of a systems integration perspective, that what you don't bring to the party is kind of the big creative idea, and then, well, I think more importantly, how to integrate that idea across PR and all the kind of other ways in which you can deliver it. So digital is kind of your main focus, and then as a result of that, that you're missing out on the kind of the other opportunities, or the clients might be missing out on some of those other opportunities. So I'd love to know what your response to that would be.
Sure. I mean, when we were talking about it prior, Anne had a better take on it, I thought. Her line was good. She says, boy, he seems kind of defensive, don't you think? So,
Oh, great. Attribute that to me.
it was.
So that's going to be
I know,
the
and that's when we
headline.
first met, so I immediately hugged Anne, and we've been fast friends ever since. But, I mean, first off, I think obviously he has some points on, I think someone on the last panel had mentioned to bring a little bit of humility to the space, and I think when you're coming from where we are, we want to bring that humility. No one knows us as the creative juggernaut that's there, and the thing is we are very, very much in the space that's converging. I think maybe what he might not want to admit, but everyone else has been talking about today, is that marketing and branding is inextricably linked to technology. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, by accident, you know, I come from the agency world, and from the startup system integration world, and from the digital agency world, and that whole side of it. I mean, who would have thought Accenture is going to be relevant now? But it's not like we're fighting to get in this business. The CMOs are saying, listen, help me. I can't, all right, I'm going to do a Super Bowl commercial, but 10 minutes after that, I have to take that Super Bowl commercial and make it work on every tablet and every mobile phone, and I have to have the content be syndicated and understand how it relates to the overall experience across the whole customer journey. And all of a sudden, they're talking about operating models and new skill sets and organizational design. This is a place where we're wildly relevant. So when it comes to taking some benign questions around marketing that seem like, well, can you help me do this campaign better? It is so quickly a business change and a business transformation discussion that I think this is the new thing that they were talking about in the last panel about the new definition of the agency. It's a new, even the word agency is going away. I mean, our clients are starting to redefine agency of record terms, and we're winning that business because when they're thinking about...
And are you project-based or are you agency of record-based?
So we have both in those, but it's the ones that are getting it, and they know, oh, my brand has to also be about the experience. It also has to be about performance and about technology, and these things coming together, they will change that definition, and then we're all of a sudden in the running. And these are companies like L'Oreal and South America or Celebrity Cruises. We're talking about major brands that are looking to us to try and drive these new experiences. It's really just their customers are asking for something new, so they need a new kind of provider.
Yeah.
Just to pick up on that, it's just so interesting when you think about the fact that there were communications and there was technology. Those two things, every business is in the experience business today, period, end of story, which is why marketing and technology have to be better.
And I think more CMOs are actually being called Chief Experience Officers, so they're moving much more into that role themselves as it moves forward. So you guys, Emma, chairman of BBH.
Yep.
There for how long?
I was at BB8 for a long time, about 18 years.
About 18 years,
Strategy.
an amazing, everyone knows, an amazing global creative agency. Andrew, CEO of Crispin Porter Burgusky, probably one of the most legendary agencies in the past 15 years. Emma, Anne, sorry, at Fallon, and then had her own amazing agency called Toy. Why did you choose to leave the agency world and kind of jump into the new roles that you have now? What was the impetus for that?
I don't know, in my case...
Money?
Sadly, that was not the reality. Nigel Bogle, the second B of BBH, used to say quite a lot, extol people to run at the future. I thought it was a really good phrase. I remember taking it to heart. Technology feels like the force that's most acutely defining the future, the shape of where our industry's going. So for me, it was like just really exciting to be given the opportunity to be part of a group which is just it's just being built, and it's being built to harness the power of technology. Probably I was also attracted by the fact that it is not even half built yet. I like the idea of helping shape and create it. We haven't even invested half of our funds. Yeah, as I say, it feels like running at the future. I really like that.
Andrew?
You know, I was there for 17 years and just felt like, God, I've got to try something different, do something different. And, you know, for me, when I thought about what I'm passionate about, I feel like my creativity, you know, always intersected with media in some way. There was always some sort of interesting use of the media, or trying to think about, you know, the room that the work was walking into, or the people that we were targeting, or how we were going to talk to them, the voice. And so much interesting work for me came out of thinking first about those moments in someone's life. The other side of it was strategy. I was just always passionate about strategy. That was one of the things that turned me on to Crispin in the first place, when I started there working on the Truth account, and just the strategy was so interesting and not what was expected. And I really felt like Facebook was a place where those things were going to come together, that, like, you know, what a great place for all the sort of insights of the world all come together, you know, in one place. And then to be able to really have my finger on the pulse of the, you know, the technology and the media as it exists, and get to play with that. That was something that seemed really exciting to me. But probably the third thing was the fact that I realized that by going to Facebook, I would have the opportunity to collaborate with all these people that I love in the industry, that I'd worked with at Crispin, or, you know, knew through, you know, panels like this, or award shows, or had just, you know, met people and had loved, you know, their brains and their hearts, and thought, you know, if I just go to another agency, I won't have that chance. Mm-hmm. And so that was something that really appealed to me, and I've been, you know, sort of happy to see all of that come true and get to work with so many different people. It's been amazing.
Great.
Yeah, it's funny, 18 years at Fallon, and then 6 years with my own creative agency. And I think I'm not prone to hyperbole generally, but right around 2011, I felt like this industry is really undergoing a profound seismic shift. And the way we talk about it to our clients is, it's a little bit of a handle, like we're in the agency business, but is no longer B2C economy. It's really a C2B economy. And I've been in the business for, you know, almost 30 years, and I've been saying, hey, the consumer's in charge. No. Now they actually are. There's a data point that I find fascinating, which is, it's about 3 years ago from McKinsey, that 2/3 of all touch points, marketing touch points, 10 years ago, a decade ago, were brand driven. Advertising, promotion, direct response. 10 years ago, right? Today, 2/3 of touch points are consumer driven. Social, websites, blogs, reviews. 50% of all product searches start on Amazon, right? And so that completely flips the model of marketing and how brands are built. And so I knew there was something going on, that the traditional creatively driven agencies, they're in the conceptual idea business. That's a gross oversimplification, but I just felt like it was different. And then I went up to TripAdvisor. I spent 2.5 years on the client side, and I slid all the way down the funnel into the deep depths of, I call that my PhD in analytics and data and attribution. But interestingly, it sort of set me up to come back to what I call a, you know, digitally native agency. And you just realize, back to what we were talking about, the future is about creating and curating experiences on behalf of the brand that the consumer wants to engage with. And the one other thing I'll say, because I just was such an aha moment for me, being inside the Hearst Tower, which is, again, a company that spent 100 years creating content that people actually want. Guess how relevant that is today, right? They actually create content that draws an audience. And the big thing I saw, which was so profoundly different from brand directors and those of us even on the agency side, is editors live in the shoes of their audiences. They intuitively understand their audiences like no other. From a data perspective, yes, but just from a intuitive perspective. And brands today need to do that. They need to have that editorial mindset. They need to really, really live in the shoes of their audiences and create things that they can be drawn to. Otherwise, they just skip you, tune you out, like for real. That's a long-winded answer, but.
No, it's a good answer. So at the ANA last week, they talked about the fact that marketers are investing ever more in marketing and advertising than before. I think it's like something like 200 billion in advertising, 1 trillion in marketing. But the growth that they're witnessing is anemic, to say the least. So all of that money doesn't seem to be driving the growth that those businesses need to thrive. So tell me why you think that's happening and how you think the companies that you're working with can help change that trajectory.
I think there's a big difference between spending a lot of, more money's being spent, but I don't think it's being spent necessarily efficiently and well. So if you, I don't know, clearly on the traditional media side, there's bucket loads of money still gets spent, and particularly in certain channels, TV is the most obvious one, cost per thousands, it's going up. You spend more, you get less. Then on the supposedly hyper-efficient, hyper-targeted digital side, yeah, sure, that sounds good. And then we have all those inbuilt intermediaries, all the cost that goes there. We have all the sort of less accurate targeting. Then you have, those quality of inventory issues we all know about, viewability, the fraud, etc. There's lots built in. I think that just means it's not being spent well. We spend quite a lot of time. It's quite interesting what you were just saying about, that seismic shift, so that brands are built by people nowadays, peer-to-peer. We spend quite a lot of time encouraging people to do more what we call people-powered marketing, like literally just making sure you take advantage, not just of creating compelling content, but of using, engaging people to do that. So whether it's by curating user-generated content, whether it's by influencer marketing, whether it's by using crowds, external crowds of filmmakers, the whole notion of actually leaning into that phenomenon of using the crowd of the non-professional or the semi-professional creators, it's an enormous, highly efficient, highly successful and impactful way of doing marketing. Not all marketing, but doing more and more of it these days. Certainly an area where we're, as I say, we get a lot of interest and we're investing and leaning into that area a lot.
It's anemic in some places, but in some places it's going like gangbusters. We get to work with small businesses and see what they're up to and what disruptors are up to, the Netflixes, the Airbnbs, and the way that they're using the platform globally. They're using it full funnel. They're masters of DR, and then they're becoming masters of brand. And it's incredible to see how people are able to use the platform and what they can do. So I think businesses have been born on Facebook, and they've mastered the art of it, and I think there's a lot to learn, and we try to look at all that and then hopefully pass on some learnings to some of the brands that are new to Facebook or are struggling with Facebook, and can learn from those disruptors as to how to approach it and how to kind of live more like a startup.
Yeah, the thing I get excited about as I look down the road the next 2 to 5 years is, one of the things that the advertising business was often good at is impacting, sort of both reflecting and impacting culture, having a big impact, the water cooler conversation. And as we get through this, I think the woman from L'Oreal said it well this morning, we're at the beginnings of this S-curve, and it's hard to see the future when you're in it, But I get excited about the notion that we can start getting into, start marrying these worlds of big ideas and culturally relevant, impactful ideas with all of the magic and the power of data and technology. You've heard me say programmatic is not a strategy, it's a tactic. But when you use that to power enormous, amazing, culturally relevant ideas for human beings, because at the other end of all marketing is a human being. That's always been my safeguard in not having any skills, actually, is just realizing that if you have, some intuition and surround yourself with a lot of really smart people, you can do amazing things, because there's just another human on the other end of all the pipes who's just living their lives. And they're more than happy to welcome you if you can make their lives easier in some way.
It's funny, when you were asking that question, just to build on that, when we're working with clients, they're struggling because they want to change the definition of what success looks like, the outcome. So we started off kind of talking about marketing, but now when I think the emergence of some of these new titles we were talking about, Chief Customer Officer or whatever, is because they need to track the experience all the way from marketing, sales, service, loyalty, et cetera. And this human element is a thing we talk about a lot, which is how do you get to that humanity? And it's really through empathy. So even the way we talk about marketing, and everyone can talk about new KPIs or outcomes, I mean something a little bit more impactful, and that even the language that you use, instead of talking to a brand manager about converting a customer.
Conquest.
Yes, so the language changes if you move from that to helping a customer, or how do you get your, whatever metric you want and achieve your goal, how do you get the customer to achieve their goal? And we even use, just use cases. So everyone says we're going to be customer-centric. Well, let's talk about a couple of use cases. So one of them is a real easy one. We work with a grocer, a large grocer, that, think of the way that they've been measuring their success forever. What are the three things? Drive more trips into the store, keep them on the end caps as much so you can get the promotions, and make sure the shopping cart increases. This is the nirvana of all grocers and the CPG companies that fund them, and et cetera. So when you start to think of the experience as the driver, let's say because of wonderful technology and all of us are smart marketers, they know that I come in every Saturday and they can even see that I'm there, and they have beacons and they have the technology, they can see my shopping list on the app. And they say, well, great, Glen's here, I'll serve him up relevant content. Maybe I see on the shopping list he has these 4 ingredients. If I add 2 more to it, I can give him an interesting recipe, and I know he likes recipes because he's on Facebook looking at recipes that morning. I can track all this. Nirvana, all of a sudden he gets 3 coupons right there to get the other 3 things. We're cross-selling, we're upselling, we're filling the cart, wonderful. So first off, that's hard enough to do anyway, getting those relevant messages. But let's just say I show up on a Tuesday at noon. So all of a sudden, maybe my goal is different. The experience I need then, I'm not there on a Saturday when I have time to shop for the whole week, or I'm looking at recipes, or I want the best deal, or I want coupons. What I need to do is get in and out of that place as fast as I can because I'm on my lunch break, or my kid is sick and I'm at the pharmacy. So when I come in there with the same app and they see my list of things, instead of making recommendations or coupons or deals, they heat map everything in the store to show me exactly where it is on the shelf so I can get in and out as quickly as possible. Now, when you just did that, we just broke every rule in the grocer's thing. I'm not spending more time there. I'm not going to increase my cart. They're going to get me out. But the experience is so good, and it's so important to me in that moment that it all of a sudden creates a whole nother way, a whole nother currency.
Yeah.
And I guess a whole nother level of relevance. This goes way beyond personalization. This is when you talk about the brand, and you look at a brand manager in the face and you say, well, if the brand is a set of promises, well, the experience is the way you keep those promises. And this is something that when you start thinking in those terms, a lot of the metrics that we look at and what is successful marketing, they're not even relevant.
Yeah. So one of the reasons we're all here, we're called the GateCrashers, is because I think the question that most folks out there have is, are we friend or are we foe? I'd be really interested to know how or if you work with some of the agencies in this room, and what that looks like and what you'd like it to look like in the future. And I don't want you to answer till last, because I have a specific quote that I'd like to bring it. But so, Andrew, do you want to start? Because, Martin would say you're a frenemy. I think we've both a friend and an enemy.
We've established he's very friendly as well. He's
very friendly.
Like a nice
But we did a
guy,
friendly
right?
enemy.
I mean,
Andrew is a good guy.
I know, gosh. I think some people are confused about it. I mean, the fact that we're on the GateCrashers panel, suggests that. My mission is to have great work on Facebook. I think it's part of the experience. The better the work is, the better the experience is, in feed. And so that's really important, to make the world more open and connected and to fulfill our mission, ultimately as Facebook. I just want great work there. We work with a lot of people. We have, like millions of advertisers on the platform. And so, we work with lots of people. We do experiments and all kinds of projects to push new products, and clients have particular needs. But for me, the mission is to partner with agencies, creative agencies, because ultimately, if I want great work on the platform, the only way for that to happen in a scaled fashion is to work with creative agencies. There's no way for us to deliver that. There are going to be moments where we're going to work with with people, and we're going to do projects. But the bigger vision is that if we can focus on creative agencies and empower them to see Facebook as a place where they'll do the best work of their lives, of their careers, and for their clients to create something meaningful and useful, then that will scale.
And it's interesting to think about how it's about kind of scaling for success for everyone versus disintermediating and kind of slowing everything down and making the experience less valuable.
Yep.
Well, I also think, we talk a lot about the tech stack. I think the future really of anything is having your partner stack. Like, you've got to surround yourself with the partners that you need to get the job done, because that's the only way to manage all this complexity. It's funny, we do this is the second year now we've done a big client summit of our own for our clients, and there was a panel and led by a bunch of our clients, and they were saying that, how do you solve, how do you get through digital transformation? How do you do all this? And this one woman, she just very simply said, I surround myself with the people that I really believe can help me do what I need to do. Yeah. Collaboration is a new currency as well. And it's not about just massive, crowdsourced brainstorming. Everyone has to know what their role is, and the leader has to be able to establish that, but collaboration is a big part of it.
So Glenn, is it Brian Whipple?
Yeah.
So Brian said, when you guys bought Karama, I think, he said, our immediate mission is to seek, destroy, and dominate the industry. Would you say that is the immediate, would you agree with him that that's your immediate mission?
So much for my humility statement at the beginning. I think, so Brian runs AI globally. He's my boss. I run it for North America. And we're dear friends. And I know what he means by that, because I was there when that quote was taken, and he was talking to a group of CMOs and said, we will deliver on this new way of helping you be relevant to transform your business. So when I said there's a new heightened level of relevance, we also want the CMO to be relevant. So we're working right now with some companies where we're getting very serious about helping the CMO redefine performance metrics. Mm-hmm. And now we work with the company right now, and a car manufacturer, auto manufacturer, that it's like a 3-year project. We have thousands of people. They're outsourcing all of their marketing to us in every way. We get paid on net new cars sold only. No time and materials, no fixed bid, none of the normal definitions of that. And when you start to do that, that CMO was much more relevant to the chief sales officer that day and to the chief financial officer. And these kinds of experiences are the things, when we talk about disrupting the world, it's not so much about dominating in the sense of we're going to be better than each one of the agencies. It's the model itself. And the reason why we can do those kinds of things is if you just take a look at the way the agency holding companies are formed, I would argue, and this is where Brian was coming from, is that it is out of date in the way that you need to function to be able to deliver global, complex, omni-channel experiences. Yes, every single holding company says that they have global coverage. Now, why? They have independent agencies all across the globe. But Accenture Interactive, they're all under one P&L with one delivery system. We do search engine marketing the same in Tokyo as we do in New Jersey. And we do the delivery in a certain way that allows for that kind of scale and complexity. This is the big disruptor that should, we believe, shake that, that space.
And I guess they would argue that what they have that you don't is that creativity, that ability. And do you have that, do you believe?
We're getting there. So that is part of the humility. We came in as an analytics and technology play and strategy and some of the things you would associate. So we obviously leverage the core. The reason why we're so successful is because we're on the shoulders of Accenture. So I've worked at many other agencies. We would never be this big unless you could scale and do some global things. But we're coming. So Karama is not a tech play. Right. They're TV, print, outdoor.
And Fjord is the other one, right?
Yeah, Fjord is the #1 service design and experience design play anywhere. I mean, their brand is ridiculously strong. We just made 4 more acquisitions in Europe and in China and in Japan. And in Accenture, we are the highest growth engine in all of Accenture and have been for the last 5 years. We also do the most acquisitions, and they are all coming in the creative and in the media space. Now, why? Because if you're going to deliver experiences, you have to be there. We respect the creative idea, but we don't pretend that that's where we came from.
Right.
But I'm just saying that in droves, the creative directors, and you'll see some of the new hires that we're announcing now, are coming from the agencies because they see this new model as the way you want to code a creative idea and then see it flourish across the globe. That is exciting to a creative director, and some of the best of them are wanting a piece of that. And I think that's where Brian was headed.
That's great, thank you. So we've run out of time, so just very quickly.
Wow.
I know, that was fast, right? So very quickly, if you had to kind of give advice on the future to some young folks who are coming in, what advice might that be? Andrew?
I believe the children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. I decided long ago
Never gonna be
never
able to
to walk in anyone's shadows. If I fail,
If I succeed,
thank you.
At least I live as I believe.
No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity.
Because
The wine is here.
I'm just saying,